Hello, everyone. This is Frank George. I'm your host for the Protection Project. And if you were watching some of our clips, I had just recently done a piece on the folks who are running for Mayor of Mesquite, Nevada, 2024. And subsequently, I was able to get one of them to do an interview for me, a very personable young man by the name of Nicklaus Montey. And with no further ado, let's go right into our interview and get to know this young man. Mr. Nicklaus Montey, it's good to make your acquaintance, sir. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic.
Good to hear that. You are running for mayor of the city of Mesquite, Nevada. Why in the world would you want to do such a thing?
As if I needed more people to dig into my life, right?
Mm,
It's like I've told a lot of people. You have two choices in life. You can either stand on the sidelines and just complain, or you can jump in and try to make a difference. I want to leave the city better than I found it. So when my time is ultimately done here, I can say I made a difference and an impact on people's lives. And there's no greater way to do that than the executive role in the city government. I want to make a positive impact here, not just for our children, but for our retired community, because we do have a very large retired
hmm
community, and I feel that there's a lot of areas where they're being neglected, and there's some changes that they're not comfortable with. But with the right solutions, new age solutions, we can really make a difference and make it a destination of choice for everybody.
Great. Like to know a little bit about you. I understand that you're a business owner. Is that correct?
Yes, small business owner. I own a couple of businesses. I'm a chief of operations for another one. A couple of them based out of Texas, where I'm originally from. I'm originally from Austin, Texas. Um, Grew up kind of everywhere. We moved around a little bit. Mom was in the mortgage business. Stepdad was a contractor. We moved around kind of like a military family would, but this is post-military. So um, I grew up in a lot of small towns, big cities, got to see a little bit of everything. I moved to Mesquite about 4 years ago, and I made a home here. And it's a great community to raise kids. It's a small town, it's a family feel, and it's really it's been interesting for sure how I got here, but staying here, it's been interesting. It's been a fun ride though. It's a cool place to be.
And you're a family man. I think you've got two boys.
Yeah. I've got two sons, 10 and 11 years old. There's one kid you probably wouldn't know. That's Avery. There's one kid everybody knows, and that's my son DJ.
hmm
He's a handful, but he's a good kid. They're both really good, hardworking kids. They love to build things. They're very smart, very very intelligent. Sometimes they outsmart me, which it keeps me on my toes. I gotta step my game up. Now that they're getting older.
Okay. I don't think you would be running if you felt that everything was a-okay with how Mesquite is currently being run, or perhaps even with the present candidates, of which you are one. So,
Yeah, I'm the kind of person, I see a need, feel a need, and right now there's a big need for steady new leadership. Leadership that's not so nonchalant about the way things go. About whether or not illegal immigrants are going to come in. Oh, that'll never happen. Or new businesses come in. Oh, that's great. If it happens, awesome. If it doesn't, okay. At the end of the day, we got to pick a side, and we got to push. We got to push for certain things, and we have to be prepared. I feel like even to the degree of just constituents being railroaded by the current administration because of what they've allowed to happen. Um, I just feel like there's so many different things that we can do differently. Cutting out the waste is one. Cutting out the wasteful spending. Not really allowing the good old boy system to come back into Mesquite. At one point in time, this was a town where the good old boys ruled, and I think those days are over. This town's becoming more and more of a destination for a lot of people. And the old way of thinking no longer serves the way the community is going. So for me to jump in, it was very calculated. I've been thinking about it for probably 9 or 10 months prior to jumping into the race. I didn't know that there were going to be six of us. When I jumped in, there were only three. And some of the candidates, I know them, great people. good people. I got nothing personal to say about them, but I feel like it's the wrong reasons that they're running. We got a few guys that they don't quite understand what the role of the mayor is. I don't think they understand what a city charter is. I don't think they've ever read it. That would be a debate in and of itself. We got a few people that are just running because they don't want the current mayor to run. He's been there for 10 years, so I think it's time for a little bit of change. And what's telling about it is I'm the only guy who's really got a platform to run on. If you look at everything I put out there, I'm the only one who's putting out a platform. Everybody else is sort of just, well, this is what I think, and that's it. And they don't really promote anything. They don't really have anything that they're standing on. And even the current mayor, nice guy, Al Littman, I've met him, real nice individual, very intelligent. I haven't seen even the record that he could put out. And he's done some good things. The city's not in dire straits. It's not like we're going downhill on a roller coaster right now. But I haven't really seen a record. And it's like, okay, why, right? And so I just feel like there's a lot that we can do to move the city forward as it grows. And those new age problems require new age solutions.
All right. You mentioned your platform. What is your platform, sir?
Low taxes, proper use of public funds, balancing the budget, getting rid of the waste, supporting our law enforcement and first responders, and making sure that those guys are properly funded. Make sure that we have a great emergency response plan, which is troubling if you knew the details of that. Getting affordable housing in, but not affordable housing in the sense that everybody thinks of, like, with all the riffraff and all this other stuff. We want to make sure that obviously it's bringing in workers, and it's also housing that people who work for a living can afford. And then, we got to rebuild our parks and recreation system. That's the one thing the city can do to influence business. It can bring in more demand through tourism. And I feel like if we could just, use our city resources better, I really feel like the demand on businesses would go up, and therefore wages would go up.
Okay. I want to ask you a question that the candidates were asked when there was this gathering in Mesquite. And the question is, okay, so a bus rolls up and it's full of illegal aliens. You're the mayor. Mm-hmm. What do you do?
Just shy of sending them to Kamala Harris's house.
I like that.
They got to go back where they came from. I mean, look, the city of Mesquite, could we sit and say, oh, it'll never happen? Okay, fine, we could have an argument about that because we're a small town. But a storm could never happen. A tornado could never happen. And we had, a couple of them just a couple years ago. A hurricane could never happen out of the Pacific. Well, that came in, and that almost, had that gone 30 miles east of where it did, we'd still be cleaning up to this day. Those are not my words. That's the words of the fire chief. We'd still be, hosed. So could it not happen? Yes, but it very well could happen. And we need to have a plan to go after that. And I think the city does not have the resources to manage or house any amount of illegal immigrants, because it will take away from what we have for our own citizens, which, by the way, isn't very much. Mm-hmm. If you look at our emergency response plan, we're only able to house probably 400 to 500 people in the event of a catastrophe. Now, to give you an idea, that's 500 people that need oxygen. They need, they have machines that keep them alive.
Right.
But there's 25,000 people, and of that, 44% of them are 65 and older. Now, I don't know about you, but that's a big number. Right?
It's a big number.
That's a very big number. That's 10, 11,000 people, and we're only able to really take care of 500 of them. Mm-hmm. And now you're asking the city to put illegal immigrants in place of them. That's not only is that detrimental to public safety, that is going to tax our system in ways that we just don't have the capacity to fund it. So they're going to have to go back. At the federal level, they need to reinstitute the Remain in Mexico policy. We do need to finish that border wall, but we also need to build facilities for asylum seekers who do come through. We need to build facilities that can house them and house them properly until their paperwork, is processed. But the Remain in Mexico policy has to go back in place. So if you look at, just go back to the Trump administration when we had the Remain in Mexico policy, We didn't have the issues that we have. We still had people sneaking across, and we had drug cartels, sex traffickers, and all that stuff. And there's people that are going to make their way through, and we have to deal with that. But the Remain in Mexico policy did wonders at stemming the flow of illegal immigrants coming across for the wrong reasons. That helped. And then on the other side of it, law enforcement, should we have any issues with that, we have to be able to give our law enforcement agencies the power and the authority to, remove them from society.
Absolutely. Just to be clear, because people may misunderstand, when you're talking about providing facilities for asylum seekers, are you talking about in Mesquite, or are you talking the federal government some other place? At the border.
At the border.
You don't want that in Mesquite.
No, and there's no reason to. We're not a border state. We don't directly go right up to the Mexico border. There's no reason for us to handle that. Not in Mesquite ever. That's an issue that I would argue that even Las Vegas is not prepared for, given the growth and the way their system is largely taxed with everything they've got going on. Mm-hmm. They got to go back to the border where they can be processed, and if they are found to be somebody that should not be here, they go right back across the border and they're done, and they get shipped wherever they need to go.
Okay, logically and truthfully, a lot of the labor that we find in the casinos and the kitchens and such are illegal aliens. They are. Some of them are very, very nice. I've spoken with some of them. I have no idea who these people are. So now the Trump administration, if Donald Trump becomes president again, he has said that they're going to begin a removal of illegal aliens like no one has ever seen since Dwight Eisenhower did it decades ago. And as a mayor, would you comply with having your police be part of that effort? Because that is what is planned, that city police, state police, everybody and everything to get illegals out of here. And it must be stated that part of the situation is that we know that there's a lot of terrorists who have come over that border, particularly during the Joe Biden time, 3.5 years of people just coming in. He's just waving them in. And I have heard from sources that know that indeed there are terrorists here who have come over. They indeed want to bring us harm. How that switch would be flipped and they go into action, I do not know. But okay, let's say you're the mayor. Donald Trump has become the president. He wants your police department to cooperate. Would you cooperate, yes or no?
Yes.
You want to elaborate on that?
Yeah, it's twofold, right? Our police department needs to have access to the systems that allow us to determine whether or not they're citizens or not. And then we got to be able to work with state and federal authorities to remove them. Right now, our city is barely keeping up with the demand that we have, with the amount of police officers we have per 1,000. I believe it's 1.4 or 1.3 officers per 1,000. So, and the national average is 2.4. So we're a little bit behind. So if that issue does come up, we're going to be in a position where we're going to need more officers in order to manage that. And as the city grows, we're going to have more officers anyway. But yes, we absolutely do need to, because our local law enforcement is oftentimes the first line of defense between peace and anarchy. And being that first line of defense, the federal government can't be everywhere every single day, including state officials. So local law enforcement plays a huge role in traffic stops. Okay, can you provide an ID? No. Why not? If you're not able to speak English, that's usually a telltale sign. Mm-hmm. We get that there's a lot of people who come over. They're looking for work. They're trying to do things the right way. They're getting their asylum paperwork. I know a few people myself that have come from Cuba, and they're hard workers, and they're getting their asylum paperwork, and they're trying to do it right because they're escaping communism. And some people, they're trying to escape the drug lords that run their country. We get that. We understand that. We want to be able to help those people, as a humanitarian, country. We want to make sure that we are helping people who need it. The problem is that you have a lot of people coming over who are not here for the right reasons. Like you say, there's terrorists, and coming from a border state, Texas, we've dealt with that. We know firsthand what that looks like, and it's a problem. It really is, and it's scary because you want to be able to walk outside and not have an issue. but there's a reason that we're putting extra locks on our doors every day. And we really just have to, we've got to buckle down. We've got to understand that, yes, do we want to help people? Of course, absolutely. We always want to help people. But at the end of the day, we have to be smart about it. We can't just, like an open border policy like we have, we can't just let people in unmitigated. I mean, think about it. If you live in a gated community, there's a reason you pay the HOA to keep that gate closed. There's a reason that you have a lock on your door. There's a reason there's a gate on your property. You don't just leave it open. That defeats the purpose of having a gate. Right? Well, you don't just leave your border open. That defeats the purpose of having a border. And so dealing with the terrorist problem, that's going to require some, the local authorities to really step up their game and have the personnel in order to handle that issue.
Yeah, and there's another aspect to that we don't know the health status of somebody who has come in illegally. And of course, what was it, about 3 years ago or so, we went through this nightmare, even in Mesquite. I was there. Everybody was forced to wear masks. The businesses were closed down. Some small businesses, they lost it. They never opened again. And of course, that supposedly was a virus that came from China. I have other ideas about that. But if we had another health crisis of the sort, would you force businesses to close and all kinds of stuff, or would you allow people to have their constitutionally guaranteed freedoms?
We would not close. What we learned during this pandemic, and some people call it a plandemic, and we all have our opinions on that. Closing the schools, which was detrimental to our children. My kids were behind for a little while until we could get them caught up, and they never got caught up in the public school system. We had to homeschool them in order to get them caught up because our public school system is 50th and 51st in the country, depending on which way Puerto Rico goes, right? So it was an absolute crapshoot. And so, no, I would not shut down. Now, if you are too timid to go outside, you don't want to go outside, you don't want to, you want to wear a mask, or you're afraid to be around people, okay, look, there's services that'll bring your groceries directly to your door. There's services that'll bring anything else that you need to your door. You can have people come and put gas in your tank. You can have people come and air up your tires. There's all kinds of things you can do. Services to the house and whatnot. You don't have to go outside. That's fine. Stay in your bubble if you feel that you can be compromised. And if you can be compromised, well, then you probably need to stay in that bubble. But the rest of us need to get on with our lives, and we have businesses to operate. It was a problem. My business in Texas was one of them that shut down. I never reopened the doors. I ended up coming out here, and later on, after working for a local business, I ended up opening up my company. I would never put us back through that again. I would not put in mask mandates. I would not force people to wear it. I would go as far as, if somebody told me, Mr. Mayor, you need to enforce these rules, I'm throwing a lawsuit back your direction, because there is absolutely no reason for us to do this. As a matter of fact, even the Supreme Court, they shot down a few of the rules that were put in place for the military. The military, now they got to go back and try to pay those people that were cut because of vaccine mandates and so forth. No, we're not going to compromise anybody's constitutional rights. I think that's absolutely wrong, and it was the worst. It was the worst implementation of communism that this country has ever seen.
Well, I very much agree. I don't know if we've missed any questions that you want asked. Is there something that you would like to say to voters before we close out?
I think we're at a crossroads, right, with our local politics. We don't want the same mistakes of 4 years ago, where it just got really ugly unnecessarily, regardless of what we feel about the individual who was running at that time. We do have a current mayor who's been there for 10 years. Bless his heart. He's a good guy. If 8 years is too long for a president, at some point we got to say goodbye to the mayor and move on, and thank him for his services. We need to be very careful about just going to any new candidate just because that's who we know or that's who we're comfortable with. There's several candidates right now that are running on an anti-police platform. They're quietly doing it in the form of wanting to reinstate the residency clause, which the state of Nevada has already said is a no-go. You can't do that. And they want to get rid of the current police chief, and I'm not a fan of that because that police chief, regardless of how much he's getting paid, has made us the safest city in Nevada. And we need to maintain that. We need to keep going. We don't need to make changes just because we want to fix tickets or we want the good old boy system or we don't want, don't bother this person, that person, the old school way of doing things. So we need to be really careful about it. And to me, we don't need a mayor who, is I'm greedy. I'm going to be greedy. I'm going to do this and this. Corporate greed loves that. Yeah, go ahead and keep peddling that platform. But everyone else, there's no platform that they're running on. And I think right now is the time that we look for somebody that A, is competent enough to put out a message, and B, has the people. That's the other thing. It's not just me coming in. It's also the people that I would pick for the city manager roles, for city attorney roles. It's bringing in good, solid, structured individuals who know how to run a system and make that happen. I'm not here to be your friend. I'm not here to be the most liked guy. I'm not here to pander to anybody. This is who I am. What you see is what you get. I don't know what else to tell anybody. I guess some people who are they're like, I'm not sure about you. Well, hear my policies and talk to me that way. You don't have to like me as a person. But I'm going to stand up for you. And then here's the thing that we often forget, and I want to say this, and this goes from top to bottom. We oftentimes get elected to positions, and we only end up representing the people that elected us. That's not our job. Our job is to represent not only the people that elected us, that voted for us, but the people that did not vote for us, as well as the people that did not vote, right? Mm-hmm. We have to represent everybody. And yeah, we run on our platforms, and yes, we are registered to certain parties, right or left or somewhere in the middle. Okay, that's all fine. But once you're in there, you have to understand that the government needs to run in a nonpartisan way and represent everyone. And I think too oftentimes we forget that, and that's why you see a lot of cities saying, we're sanctuary this, we're sanctuary that, we're sanctuary. Stop all that. We're not a sanctuary anything. We are here to do the bidding of the people that put us in position to make sure that they have safe streets, clean streets, and that we have fast response times for from our first responders. That's our goal. That's our job, and to make sure that we're not mismanaging funds. So just pay attention to who you're voting for. Obviously, this is all last minute. I couldn't be at the other debate. Not that I wanted to sit there for an hour and a half and listen to six people, kind of say the same thing. It's like, be different, but okay. But I was traveling. I was taking my kids to visit their mom. Being a single dad, raising my kids on my own, sometimes you got to do things right. And yes. Family comes first, above anything, including politics. Family comes first. So couldn't be there. Whatever. I don't think there was a net gain with all the early voting going on. But whoever is left, whoever is undecided, just understand that not everything is what it seems. And if you have a question, ask me. I have no problem talking about anything, whether it's me, my past, things you hear about me, whatever it is. I'm an open book. I think the one area where politicians get themselves in trouble is they try to lie.
Well, yeah, I've got two questions for you, but before I forget, how do people contact you?
So they can reach out to me, Nicklaus Montey from Mayor on Facebook. If you find my personal page, Nicklaus Montey, feel free to message me there. I do have a business in town, so that means my number is out there.
Just give you a call, right?
You can give me a call. I don't always answer, but you can shoot me a text message or something. Okay. We can always have a friendly conversation. I usually prefer Facebook because I can see a name and I can all that stuff. So, if you see me out in the public, stop me. If I'm with my kids, probably not a good time. I may tell you it's not a good time, but if you see me out anywhere else, I'm by myself, just come up and talk to me. I'm a very approachable person.
Okay, very good. Two questions, final questions before we go. Diversity, equity, and inclusion are policies that are being pushed from the federal government down even to the state level, and I imagine the mayors are going to get hit with it. The problem with diversity, equity, and inclusion is that it does away with a merit-based system where you get the best person for the job. You're the mayor, now all of a sudden you're getting hit by the state. Hey, we want you to push this diversity, equity, and inclusion. in your hiring practices? What would you do?
Kindly tell them to go swim in a lake. Uh, no, we're not going to do that,
Mm-hmm.
and for the very reasons you said, it's the qualifications. I would rather you be qualified than be of any one rate, because obviously, I, not to jump too deep into this, but I think all of that is racist in and of itself. You're
Mm-hmm.
excluding certain people because of who they are.
Yes.
I mean, who do you want? Do you want somebody who is underqualified but is diverse flying your plane, or do you want somebody who's got hours of experience flying that plane?
Exactly.
I'm just saying I would prefer to get there safely. Um, so I think we should do that in our government. It's a perfect example. We have a marketing department within our government that outsources our marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, nobody's qualified to do the job. I think we need to change that. We need to get people in there who are qualified. And I'm not looking at your skin color. I don't care what your skin color is. What I care about is, are you competent enough to do the job, and can you do what is being asked of you? And do you have new and fresh ideas? Simple as that. I will give a job to anybody that is capable of doing it. I don't care what your race, creed, ethnicity, background. I don't care what any of that is. It needs to be about merits. And like I've told a number of people, you have your A employees, your B employees, and your C employees. Your A employees you don't want to get rid of. Those are your high valued employees. B employees need a lot of training. Your C employees probably aren't going to stick around for very long. But there's training. Imagine if we hired nothing but C employees just because we wanted diversity. Our economy would shut down.
Oh, absolutely. And without doubt.
We'll not be doing that.
Okay, final question, and I don't know that the mayor can do anything about this, but transgender drag queen story hour for kids in the school system in Mesquite.
That is probably one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. Here's the thing, and I'm going to be a little controversial on this. Now, understand that there are just certain things that personally, look, I don't care about. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I have dated women who are bisexual. I have friends who are bisexual. I have friends who are gay. I've done business with people that are gay. All their money is green, and when I'm running a business, green pays the bills, right? So I don't care what your bent is. However, under 18, no, absolutely not. And grown men running around dressed as women in front of children. In the South, we call them pedophiles. I don't know what they call them here on the West Coast, but in the South, we call them pedophiles, and there's a special place for them. The sanctuary city proclamation that was signed by the current mayor about being a sanctuary for LGBTQ. Listen, I don't want to be a sanctuary for anything because it gets into special interest,
Mm-hmm.
so that will get rescinded.
Mm-hmm.
Perfectly. I'm not saying on day one, or everybody goes, "Oh, day one, I'm going to do it." No, it's going to get rescinded. Because I don't want to be just another mayor that goes, "Oh, the news says this is the new fad. I'm going to sign a bill and I'm going to fit in with the crowd." No, we're here to represent everybody. We're not here to represent or pick a side, one group or the other. That's not how representing everybody works. So that.
Let's see, we've got a freeze from your side there. I don't. Oh, I see. We dropped you. Okay, we're gonna try and get you back on again. Please ring us. Ring us up. Let's see what we can do. Okay, we lost your image, but we can hear you. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, my computer died on me.
That's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Go ahead.
but yeah, we should not be allowing grown men to do that in front of children. Is what I was getting to with that. I will rescind that proclamation. We shouldn't be engaging in special interest issues like that. So now, with that being said, the First Amendment protects a lot of things, right? Freedom of expression, freedom of speech.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as it's not publicly funded, and as long as it's not violating the city ordinances, look, you're you're free to do what you want,
Mm-hmm.
but understand actions have consequences. And I wouldn't. I would not put our children in those positions where they have to see something that, frankly, they can't comprehend. I
No,
don't
they're
want
too
my
young.
children.
They're too young.
Yeah, I wouldn't put my children in there. I can tell you that right now. My children, they're too young to see that. It's not something I want them to see. Now, when they get older, look, to each their own. But absolutely not. I would not allow that personally.
Okay. You know what? That brings up one last question. I know I keep saying that one last question, and I want to thank you for your time.
No, you're fine.
Men dressed as women who self-identify as women, using the women's bathrooms in the city. Yes or no? Are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
There. Okay, there we go. Sorry about that.
Okay. Did you get the question?
I got part of it. I apologize for the interference.
Okay. Okay.
Men dressing as women, identifying, using women's restrooms. Yeah, no, I think if I ever saw, I know if I had a daughter, and I found a man identifying as a woman using the restroom, I would identify them as a punching bag.
I like that.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. Look, there's two genders. All right, let's just get over it. There's two genders, male and female, and you use the restroom that you're assigned to. We shouldn't be allowing pedophiles, like men who dress up as women, in order to engage in activities with younger children. We shouldn't be allowing that to happen. I think it's one of the greatest atrocities that America has allowed to happen.
I agree.
And frankly, it's a distraction from the bigger picture. And that's all this is a distraction from the bigger picture. It's a mental illness, to be perfectly honest with you. And I'll say, I don't care. I think any man who wants to dress up as a woman has a problem. I get that you may not be happy with who you are. I understand that, and that we all go through those phases. But to me, there's a nefarious, underlying excuse here to get the children and indoctrinate children.
Yes.
And I think it's wrong to see grown men acting that way and touching themselves and expressing themselves in a way in front of children, girls especially. We shouldn't be allowing that to happen. And look, I get there's an entertainment aspect to it. You got Mrs. Doubtfire, you got Big Mama's House, you got all these movies, right, where you've had actors dressed as women. Look, I get there's an entertainment factor to it on screen. Yeah, sure, okay, and to some degree it's hilarious, but they're not inappropriately touching themselves and dancing and doing all these other things and trying to teach kids something that they shouldn't be taught. Much like the books in schools, they've got books that are absolutely just disgusting. That should not be in those libraries because they should not be around children of that age. So to me, I think that's a mental illness, and that's something that needs to be addressed. I have nothing against people being gay. You want to marry who you want to marry. Oh, hey, that's fine. Look, you want to you want to be bisexual. You want to be whatever. Okay, look, everyone's got their own preferences in their life. Everyone, those polyamorous relationships are becoming more and more popular. I get all that, but the drag queen stuff, dancing in front of children and engaging with children in that degree, disgusting.
Absolutely so. Well, I want to thank you for making yourself available for the interview, and we've reached.
I apologize for that. Went out on my computer.
Okay.
Oh no.
Hey, stuff happens, and you bounce back really quickly. Good planning on your part. I would like for you to have an opportunity at this time to make your pitch to the voters as to why they should vote for you, and then we'll say goodbye.
For me, it's about bringing accountability, right? We want to bring accountability to our local government. I've got nothing to gain or lose by doing this. I've lost a lot of business by doing this. I could gain being the mayor, and that's awesome. But for me, it's about being accountable to the people. It's about being a public servant, a servant leader. And one of the pledges that I made to put my money where my mouth is I will not take a salary as a mayor, which, by the way, isn't very much. I spend more on cheeseburgers, I promise. And the camera didn't show, but I promise you I spend a lot more on cheeseburgers. I won't take a salary as mayor until that budget is balanced, right? And balanced without using the general fund or the savings account or COVID money, which, by the way, is gone. So now what do we do with all these, liabilities that we have to pay for? So for me, it's accountability. It's being accountable to you as the voter, whether you vote for me or not. I'm accountable to you. I'm going to answer those questions. It's about bringing back what has been missing in this country, which is just servant leadership. We have too many people out there doing it for themselves and not doing it for the right reasons. And for me, this is about doing it for the right reasons and setting an example for those who come behind me.
All right, Mr. Nicklaus Montey, wish you a lot of luck, and we'll see what happens when the voters vote. Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.